Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is a 2022 Chulai Championship. It's back. Yes. And we're here to talk about some of the excitement of the matchups. So we have with us two of the finest young paleontologists. We have Colin Boisvert coming out of Brigham Young University. He is a sauropod specialist with a theropod passion. And we have Taylor Oswald, who is also out of Brigham Young University, who also is a theropod specialist with a knack for living animal behaviors. We're so lucky to have you two and your commentary here. So we're just going to dive right in. We're going to start off with one of the most controversial pieces of the entire tournament, and something we're going to come back to repeatedly: the retirement of the reigning, defending, undefeated Tyrannosaurus Rex. T-Rex has decided to sit in the broadcast booth. He's done with fighting, and he's left the door open for anyone. He twice defeated Spinosaurus in the finals, and he twice eliminated Giganotosaurus's aspirations. So T-Rex sitting aside has left it wide open. So I'm super excited about that. That's number one. And number two, because of that, the seeds, there's some controversy, which we'll get to in a moment, about the seeding of the top three. There's definitely some disagreement among some of the professionals. But I'd like to start us off at the other end of the spectrum. Our number 8 competitor is Utahraptor, who won the lightweight championship all outright last year and earned his way into the finals. But at almost a ton in weight, even roided up, he's just not in the same weight class. So some have wondered why we did it, but Utahraptor, I don't think you can count him out. Taylor, what do you got to say about Utahraptor?
Well, Utahraptor is definitely one of my close to my own heart. The biggest of the raptor dinosaurs, the Dromaeosaurus, razor sharp teeth in the jaws, fierce hook-like claws on the fingers. Then the feet, they're most famous for, they have that big killing claw. They can use that to pin an animal down, grasp, kind of like an eagle. And if you've seen an eagle's talons, you know those can both do some damage and also they can hold on. For its size, it's definitely quite a contender. Like you said, it is a bit out of its weight class. I'm not counting it out. I want to see it go on.
It's up against the number one.
Yes, Spino.
We could argue shouldn't be Spinosaurus, 2-time finalist.
I think in terms of actual kind of brawling capability, Utahraptor probably has more, at least for its size. I mean, Utahraptor is hunting on land. It's going to be fighting with each other. It's going to be defending kills from smaller theropods, and it's going to be hunting probably things like iguanodonts that are bigger than it. We know Dromaeosaurs did hunt big ornithopods. It's probably had experience taking down things bigger than it, but Spinosaurus is 50 feet long. Just the weight. All it would take is a good slap from Spino, and that could end Utahraptor's run here. If Utahraptor were to win, I think what it would have to do is kind of do how raptors might have taken down big prey, which is something similar to like an eagle would do. Get on its back, use those claws to dig in, and just go for a ride. And just hold on longer than the Spinosaurus can keep bucking and fighting.
Challenge they're up against an animal that has a sail.
Yeah,
you jump on its back.
But that sail is fragile.
It is. That could be a deterrent. It could look big and scary, but that could also be a billboard that says "Bite me," and some bites, claws to the sail. There's probably a lot of blood vessels in there. For a while, that could be a problem. But if Utahraptor could hold on to the back or the side, dig those claws in.
2020, we had Allosaurus was the Cinderella, came out of nowhere and made it all the way down until Spinosaurus took it out by a tactic where it used its speed, took savage bite, and then ran and let the animal bleed out. So what you're suggesting, Utahraptor try a bucking bronco approach, but still,
yeah.
maybe jump in, do damage, jump off. But Spinosaurus, when they went up against Allosaurus pulled that off successfully twice, two big upsets. But Spinosaurus, you alluded to it, one smack with that 49-foot long, 20,000-pound tail, and Allosaurus's limb was broken, and the game was over before it began.
I'm hoping Utahraptor can use some dromaeosaur eagle tactics, do that buck and bronco thing, and just out endure the Spinosaurus. These are animals. They can get tired, and if it can hold on and let Spinosaurus bleed out and tire out, then it might be able to do it. But it's definitely going to be an uphill battle for it. I think I'm gonna have Utahraptor on my bracket because I love it and I think it could win, but it's going to be a tough battle for sure. Utahraptor. Another thing that it might have going for it is the Dromaeosaurs and the Troodontids have some of the biggest brains of any dinosaur. So if there's going to be some battlefield strategizing, the Utahraptor might have some better tactics. Some more advanced brain power there.
Colin, what are your take? You've got number 1 seed Spinosaurus, and if you've got any thoughts on should it be number 1 seed, and then the second piece, how do you think it's going to take out the lightweight champion with, as Taylor alluded to, speed and brains plus devastating weaponry?
Yeah, I think with that combination and the fact that Spinosaurus, while a biped, is a biped that's low to the ground, unless it just hunkered down and tried to use its claws and maybe its jaws to just keep Utahraptor at bay and conserve energy. I think Utahraptor might be able to run circles around Spino and take him out. As for Spino being number 1 seed, well, I'm going to disagree, and I think that it would be a more terrestrial predator such as Giganotosaurus.
I agree.
And because Giganotosaurus, right, it dealt with iguanodonts, it dealt with sauropods, right? And those are the two main herbivores in its environment. And then it obviously interacted with other theropods that existed in Patagonia, 100 million years ago. So compared to Spino, I think Giga has more experience with a variety of opponents in terms of who maybe it might have to deal with. Spino, yes, as part of Stromer's riddle, was able to coexist with and had to deal with other large body theropods in its environment, but it dealt with that by becoming a bit of a specialist hunting in the water. So if you take him out of if you take the fish out of the water, how does the fish survive?
My thoughts exactly. I think Spinosaurus. It's big. That's the thing with Spino, is that it's big, which does count in these sort of things. It's harder to budge something that weighs twice as much as you, but I do think it's a bit of a fish out of water here. But it's big and it looks cool, and that counts for something.
These are voted by the public. So there's also the star power angle. Spinosaurus,
there is.
big star, big popular dinosaur. But Utahraptor, just coming out of the Jurassic Park movie that just came out, I'm really excited to see star on star battle. And I don't know who's going to win. I don't know who's going to. I think it's going to be close. I think that the public is going to make it tough. It's going to break a lot of hearts when they fill out the bracket and see that's the very first one.
There's going to be a big love for Spino, but there's also, I think, going to be a big spite vote against Spino. People who didn't like that he beat T-Rex in Jurassic Park 3, Taylor, and so therefore they're going to vote against Spinosaurus.
See, I have nothing against Spinosaurus as an animal.
Great animal.
I actually quite like Spino. They're cool, and they're so specialized and so interesting. And every paper that's come out about Spino has been just fascinating, kind of the back and forth. I mean, what is up with these things? But in terms of their brawling capability, they're big, but I don't see them as brawlers quite the same way as tyrannosaurs and allosaurs and raptors for their size.
Let's move on to the number 2 seed here. Since you brought up the number 1 seed questionable there, Colin, number 2 seed is the Giganotosaurus. And it has a very favorable matchup, in my opinion. It's fighting against the number 7 seed Majungasaurus. Outside of speed, it's another maybe 2 tons tops on a really heavy day. And it's up against an absolute gigantic behemoth of a predator.
I think Majungasaurus has a couple things going for it. One is Abelisaurs, they have armor plates in their skin. Granted, it's going up against Giganotosaurus. That's even with armor plates, and it's going to be a tough matchup.
In 2020, Picnonemosaurus went up against T-Rex, and the armor served no purpose. It was very sad. It was a bad matchup.
T-Rex specializes in biting through bone. Their bite force is unmatched. Giganotosaurus, weaker bite force, thinner teeth, better for slicing, so maybe that armor does it a bit of a favor, but just the size difference is going to be hard to overcome. Other thing with Majunga is, at least how they're usually portrayed and kind of thought of, they seem to be super aggro. They're the only theropods confirmed to have been cannibals, and they just seem scrappy and gruff. I'm guessing it's going to go to Giganotosaurus. It's just so much bigger.
And you do mention something.
Yeah.
The Majungasaurus is coming off a prehistoric planet appearance where it flashed its arms. If people realize that's Majungasaurus, it's really got a good shot at having that star capability especially from some of the voters.
That was comparative. Carno did the flashy arms, but maybe Majunga could do. However, Majunga still has star power, right? Majunga was featured. I'd say first and foremost, we saw Majungasaurus in Jurassic Fight Club, which, while with a lot of the paleo fans, it's maybe a more documentary. It was the first to portray both the kind of turkey or chicken style, giblets on the throat, super aggro Majungasaurus attacking each other. And so that gave it some starlight as well. We have this aggressive, predator out for blood. Giga still, I think, will be able to slice through the flesh and use its size to do that. And just, he's got, in this case, the reach. All he's got to do is get the skull in, give a couple of bites, let this animal bleed out. And then, unlike Majunga, he also has slightly more functional arms, which he can use as well. So it's going to be a rough one.
And yet, Giganotosaurus is coming off a starring role.
In terms of star power, Giga's got that. In terms of size, Giga's got that. I like Majungasaurus, but I'm predicting it's going to go to Giga. I hope Majungasaurus gives him a run for his money. I hope he makes him work for it.
If he does make it, it would be interesting as maybe a more lightweight match to see him go up against Utahraptor and see what people decide.
Wouldn't that be wild? Majungasaurus versus Utahraptor in the final.
Oh.
Just upsets.
So speaking of upsets, there's going to be a lot of people upset that Tarbosaurus got a number 3 ranking. Tarbosaurus came in, he was utterly defeated in the first round in the 2020 tourney, wasn't even invited back in the second round, and yet when his big cousin steps down, Tarbosaurus filled that hole in the Tyrannosaurid representation and stepped into it. And it's not really a known dinosaur. It's not.
Oh, but Tarbo's got the stardom backing now. I mean, everybody remembers the desert watering hole scene of just watching this terrifying Tyrannosaur walk down this hill and walk up to the watering hole, and all the herbivores scatter and say, nope, not going to get close.
In his matchup, he's up against Deinosuchus on the other end of that watering hole.
This is a tough one.
See, that's a really interesting battle. These are both animals that can bite hard. Tarbosaurus, it's a tyrannosaur, couldn't bite quite as tough as T-Rex, but it's still got that tyrannosaur bite. It's still biting harder than most other theropods. And at 33 feet or longer, it is about either the second or third biggest tyrannosaur that we know. It's not playing games. And now that T-Rex has retired, the tyrannosaur love kind of gets focused on T-Rex, and perhaps rightfully so. But now that T-Rex is retired, maybe some of that will get shifted to our Tyrannosaur representative in this tournament.
Can't forget, though, Deinosuchus has a behavioral, in this case, maybe advantage in that where it lived, it encountered Tyrannosaurs as counterpart apex predators. Meanwhile, as far as I know, Tarbosaurus did not have a large crocodilian living in its environment.
I don't think it did. I don't think it did.
The one knows a little bit about how to handle the other a little bit. It's obviously going to be different with Tarbosaurus. The other one doesn't have that kind of instinct.
Now,
which that could be a double-edged sword. the Tyrannosaurs that Deinosuchus is used to are quite a bit smaller than Tarbosaurus. So it might be that could cause him to underestimate him.
But you have a different angle, which is Deinosuchus is a quadruped. It's the only quadruped. It's the first appearance of a non-theropod in the carnivorous tourney. And Tarbosaurus is a maneuverable, speedy theropod, 2 legs, quite the powerful kick. I can see a world where it goes around it, kicks it to the side, attacks it, but then Deinosuchus has that tail that could just break limbs. Yep. I'm excited about this matchup. I don't know who's going to win.
This is going to be so interesting. And I feel like part of it might even come down to if Deinosuchus can get in some early hits. Crocodilians are immensely powerful, but they're cold-blooded and they tire quickly. They get that lactic acid buildup that they have to watch. They get stressed out on land really easily, and they just tire quickly. So if Tarbosaurus can stay alive for long enough, I think he'll be able to run circles around Deinosuchus and pick him off pretty easily. But those first couple of minutes of that matchup, that's going to be, it could go either way. You got maneuverability and speed on the one hand, and a bigger brain. Crocodiles aren't chumps either. I mean, it's an alligatoid. You can train an alligator to recognize its own name and to do tricks and stuff, almost as well, or even sometimes even better than dogs. Like alligators, they're not dumb by any means. I think it's going to come down to kind of who gets some good hits in first. This is going to be close, I think, and it's going to be. I'm really excited to see how this turns out.
I really can't say with these two put together who's going to come out on top, right? I mean, I think my money, fighting wise, if you had the right environment, is Deinosuchus because it has that behavioral advantage. I mean, Teratophonius, right, which it lived with in Utah, is 25 feet, so it's going to say, all right, it's a slightly larger Teratophonius. I'll do a similar method. However, yeah, Taylor's right. You know, it could build up that lactic acid, and then this gator's going nowhere. So in that first couple of minutes, it's got to do what I called the gator strike, where it does the I'm normal, now I attack you. Right? It's got to do something like that in order to maybe get its jaws around like the leg of Tarbo, get it on the ground and try to keep it there, and then move in to just start chomping at it. But it is tough. Tarbo can chomp at it from the top, but it has osteoderms and scutes that are going to protect it. So Tarbo has to flip Deinosuchus. Deinosuchus has to bring Tarbo to the ground. So it's a question of
Tarbosaurus' skull has special bracing and bracketing in the back of it that really allow it to have a massive bite, just like its big cousin T-Rex. I think it could tear through the osteoderms. I think we're seeing the osteoderms aren't the deterrent. If it was fighting any other critter in this tournament, I'd say yes, but it's against a bone cruncher. Yep. And that's a problem for it. I'm just excited, but just as much as I can't tell this one apart, this next matchup blew my mind when it came out, because we've seen this one before in 2020. Number 4, Torvosaurus, an animal you both know well.
Oh, yeah.
Versus number 5, Saurophaganax, an animal you also both know well.
This is a Jurassic grudge match.
Megalosaurid, Allosaurid. You've got the 2 largest apex Jurassic predators squaring off. And when this happened before, Torvosaurus took out Saurophaganax in one of the closest matches we've ever had boat-wise. So now we're seeing it again. So we get to play it back a second time. And it was delightful the first time.
This is such a fun matchup because, one, it's happened before. So this is a grudge match from our tournaments. But also this could have actually happened. They could have actually crossed paths. These are the 2 biggest predators that we kind of know of from the late Jurassic period of North America. So these are the titans of the Morrison Formation going at it. This is a grudge match that may literally extend back 150 million years. These are old rivals.
And Megalosaurus,
Mhm.
Torvosaur being a megalosaur brings old world power, primitive power. And Saurophaganax is a more derived, it's an allosauroid. It's more nimble. In fact, some have called it Allosaurus. It is a much more nimble competitor, although is it? Colin, what can you tell us about Saurophaganax, aka Snacks?
Snacks, yeah. Saurophaganax is a terrifying animal, whether it represents a new, larger species of Allosaurus or its own genus that can stand on two legs, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Saurophaganax, I've seen in our collections, has a massive hand claw. And that's before we even take into account its skull with all of its teeth, right? And once again, this is an animal that has a huge set of jaws, right? And those teeth are designed to just cut flesh. So if Snacks can get a couple of good snack-sized bites into Torvosaurus and then use its claws to maybe help dismember that a little bit, right? You can get Torvo out of the game.
So Torvosaurus has gigantic claws, and Snacks does it better. Snacks has the second largest claws in the entire tournament. We'll get to the largest claws when we talk about the herbivores later. But Snacks has out Torvo's Torvo when it comes to claws, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah. So can the old power beat the new competitor, right? Or are we going to see that Torvo is going to beat Snacks?
I mean,
we don't know.
I'll put it on the screen, but this is a Torvosaurus hand claw, and Saurophaganax makes this look small. It's crazy.
Yeah. Actually, Colorado may have been the place where the scratch match happened. I mean, evidence from the MyGap Moor quarry indicates either a Torvosaurus or a Saurophaganax that was at this site chomping on some of the carcasses. And if it's a Saurophaganax, we have found Torvosaurus, obviously, from Dry Mesa in Colorado. So that would make Colorado the site of this grudge match.
That's where we're going to hold it. Colorado. Color red.
Oh, this is gonna be such a good matchup. They're about the same size. I think Saurophaganax is a little bit longer, but not quite as heavily built.
Torvo's got the longer jaws.
Torvo's got the longer jaws, longer teeth. I think a stronger bite as well. If Torvo can get a good bite on him, an individual bite from Torvo is going to do more damage than a single bite from a Saurophaganax. But Saurophaganax is going to be faster. He's got bigger claws, more options.
That's the round one of the carnivores. I thank you both so much for your insights. It's clear you're both carnivorous specialists and huge fans. We will bring us all back together when this round is over. Make sure you fill out your brackets. And I wait to see who comes home with the bacon. And we're going to have a little bit of a side bet. We may do it offline here about what we're going to be throwing down to see. And because none of
I'm going to be flipping continents, chairs. They will all be flipped if it doesn't go like I think it's going to go.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm Dr. Brian Curtice, and it's Taylor Oswald and Colin Boisvert saying thank you all kindly for the extended version of the opening night bracket assessment for the 2022 Chulai Championship with our good friend Saurophaganax about to make a snack of Stegosaurus. I should say, we'll close with this. The winner of the carnivore bracket is the carnivore chomp, but he faces off against the winner of the herbivore bracket for ultimate chomp rights. So we'll talk about that as well as it gets deeper into the tourney. So thank you all kindly. Adios.